Hello everybody, Chris here, Game C2 Wrestling, and we just finished WrestleMania 34, so let's get started with the results. We're starting with the pre-show, since I did start with the pre-show with the predictions. So, the first match was the Andre the Giant Battle Memorial, which, you guys remember I said Elias was going to win. Elias was not in the show for that. He was in the main show, so we'll get to that later. But we ended up seeing Woken Matt Hardy win with some help by a Woken Bray Wyatt, and having them team together now in some kind of weird thing. I don't know what's going to happen. Whether or not it's Bray Wyatt turned into Brother Nero, we'll have to wait and see for that. So that's what happened with that. Next match for the pre-show ended up being the Cruiserweight Championship Tournament Final, which was Cedric Alexander versus Mustafa Ali, which we ultimately seen Cedric Alexander win. It was a good match. You know, it was somewhat predictable. Mustafa Ali just doesn't have the following just yet. You know, he's not a bad wrestler. He just doesn't have the following yet, which is the bad thing with 205 and cruiserweights. Some of them just don't have that following yet. So he'll get there, and so that's what happened with that one. So the final match for the pre-show ended up being the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal, which you guys remember I said that Becky Lynch was going to win. She did not win. It ended up being Naomi, which is, whatever. I don't think she's going to get a push per se for that, especially with the NXT call-ups and everything that's going to happen soon. But you guys did remember I did say SmackDown was going to win, so SmackDown won, so I got that right. And whatever. So now let's get to the main show. The first match of the night ended up being the IC or Intercontinental Championship Triple Threat match. So you had Seth Rollins versus Finn Balor versus The Miz, who's the champion. The one very nice thing about The Miz is he sent The Miz Taraj backstage. He didn't want him. He didn't have him there. It was a good match. It was a great way to start the show, which we ultimately ended up seeing Seth Rollins win and becoming the newest Grand Slam champion, which I believe is the third of the year, which I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the third of the year. So that's how the show started. The next match ended up being the SmackDown Women's Championship match between Charlotte Flair, the champion, and Asuka. And we ultimately ended up seeing the streak be broken, which we're getting to the point, if you have a streak, don't go to New Orleans. It's getting that bad. So it was a good match. There's so much to say about it. It was nice, a lot of spots, a lot of good breaks, a lot of good, there's so much stuff that was nice about it. The only thing I didn't like about it was the fact that they used the end of it for John Cena to run backstage for something we'll get to in a minute. So that's what happened. So that took the first hour up. The next hour ended up being, the start of the next hour ended up being the Fatal 4-Way United States Championship match between Jinder Mahal, Rusev, Bobby Roode, and the champion Randy Orton, which we ultimately ended up seeing Jinder Mahal win the championship, which was a terrible way to start that second hour. I don't understand it. It just didn't see it, so it was a surprise. It was a shock. But it's just not entertaining. I don't understand. So obviously we'll have to wait and see for that. But it seems stupid to me. But I don't make those decisions. So next match ended up being the mixed tag team match of Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey versus Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, which we ended up seeing Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey winning by submission. And so, yeah, so that was a great match. Very entertaining, very emotionally driven. Just super funny, crazy, all this. Triple H got beat up by Ronda Rousey. Stephanie got an angle lock. It just pedigrees everywhere. It was just crazy, but it was a good match. So I don't know what else to say about that one. The next match ended up being the SmackDown Live Triple Threat match. I'm sorry, the SmackDown Live Tag Team Triple Threat match between the New Day, the Bludgeon Brothers, and the champion, the Usos, which we ultimately ended up seeing the Bludgeon Brothers win the titles, which you guys remember I did say that. I did forget to mention, I did say that Kurt Angle and Ronda Rousey were going to win. They did. So that's that. back to this match. So yes, so the Bludgeon Brothers ended up being new SmackDown Live Tag Team Champions. Match took longer than I thought it was going to, but it's okay. It was predictable, so that's all I can say for that. So the next actual match ended up being John Cena versus The Undertaker, which you guys remember in the predictions, I didn't want to happen because Taker's my favorite wrestler, but it ended up being okay because he just destroyed John Cena in like 3 minutes. Old school Snake Eyes, chokeslam, tombstone, done. I don't think he hit last right. I could be wrong, but it was quick. The entrance and the finish, or like the entrance and the exit, were longer than the actual match, but that's whatever. We'll get to that later. The rest of it later. The next match ended up being the tag team match with Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. If Owens and Zayn win, then they would get to be reinstated. We ended up ultimately seeing Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon winning, and so Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are still fired. So, good match, very emotionally driven, very yes movement, just good storytelling, just, it was there, it won, yay. Alright. So, the next match ended up being the Raw Women's Championship match between Nia Jax and Alexa Bliss. There's not a whole lot to say with this match. I mean, Nia Jax ended up winning. When you had such a good match with SmackDown, this one has so many high expectations, there's no way it was going to live up to it. So, that's what happened with this one. If it went the other way around, it would have been okay. But the bar was set so high with SmackDowns, it ended up happening. So, the next match ended up being the WWE Championship match between AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura, which should have been the last match. Wasn't. The crowd wasn't behind it the entire time, which was a shame because it was such a good match. I enjoyed it so much. We ended up seeing AJ Styles retain, but we got to see a heel turn in Shinsuke Nakamura, which I'm 95% sure every pro wrestler person said that Shane McMahon was going to turn on Daniel Bryan, and we didn't see this happening. So Shane McMahon is still a face, didn't turn on Daniel Bryan. They're all buddies now, but Shinsuke Nakamura is now a heel, which is probably the biggest surprise out of that match. But out of 4 SmackDown, so I expect to see a continued feud in that. The next match ended up being the Raw Tag Team Championship match between The Bar and Braun Strowman and a partner of his choosing, which ended up being like a 10-year-old kid out of the crowd named Nicholas. And Braun Strowman and Nicholas won the titles, and that was it was a good moment. It was very nice, very happy to see that. But it's whatever. And the main event of WrestleMania 34. Was the Universal Championship match between the champion Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. And I was wrong. Roman Reigns did not win the title. Brock Lesnar retained, which probably surprised, we'll say like 50-50, right? We'll say 50 people did, 50 people didn't. Although, terrible way to end the show. It was the worst match of the night. Yeah, worst match of the night. Super predictable, besides the finish. But it was predictable. It was just boring. Nobody wanted to see it. And the best part about it was seeing Roman Reigns get his head split open. Not gonna lie. So that's what happened with that. So and so that's the results. Personally, the bar was set so high with Takeover New Orleans. WrestleMania, there was really no way for it to be able to match up, except it started to when you have the IC title match that you did and the women's title match and the mixed tag, and there were a lot of good matches in there, but the bad matches or the not so good matches or the finishers just brought it down overall to not beat Takeover. And actually, I don't know, it matched up to Takeover. It just didn't, it wasn't as emotionally involved as these other ones were, and just it just wasn't as it was entertaining, it was just not as good as it could have been. So there's that. This is just a short video right after WrestleMania. I'm going to go into more detail tomorrow, like a longer video of how I felt the whole show, show should have went, and everything that happened at Mania, and more comparisons between Takeover and Mania. But this is just the preliminary results. So do me a favor, guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to follow me on social media, those links are in the description below, and I will catch you guys next time. Alright, thanks.